guys. It's been a minute, hasn't it? I know it's been a while since I posted the last video, but this whole YouTube thing is a little harder than I, expected. I've made about probably 3-4 videos that haven't gone anywhere. I filmed four fucking videos that just I don't like. Anyways, I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm trying to make entertaining videos. So today I'm talking about James Gunn. James Gunn, fuck you. That's all I gotta say. James Gunn is an idiot. Okay, we've had so much drama the past year or two because he has rebooted the new DC universe he's established, and well, not him exactly, but the DC universe that he's heavily helped establish, and he's just fucking rebooted everything and is firing or has recasted the main DC cast. Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Wonder Woman, whatever the hell her name is, Ezra Miller, which honestly, that's for the better. We don't talk about Ezra Miller anymore. All these other big name actors, and everyone's getting pissed off about it, especially me, or including me, because it's stupid as all hell. He's firing all these guys and he's trying to just make a new Justice League that's younger and his version. But most people are like speculating why he's doing this. I know why he's doing this, okay? Especially with Henry Cavill. The reason he fired Henry Cavill is not because he was difficult to work with or something along the lines of that. It's because he was making bank, and since they had to fire him, that means they don't have to pay Henry Cavill as much as they used to, because since Henry Cavill, now is known for Superman, is a big name actor now, he can demand to be paid, millions of dollars for a movie. But when he first did Superman, he, wasn't that big name of an actor. Now, he can demand whatever the fuck he wants. Same thing with Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill. Don't think that about Ezra Miller. That's a different story. Not about the money. That's the whole kidnapping children. But they're just trying to keep from paying these actors their well-deserved pay. So they are going to fire these guys and then bring in new faces that are new actors and don't get that many roles, so these new guys don't need to demand that much money because they're new and not that big name actors. So they can be paid quite little and they can keep more money, as James Gunn. But James Gunn, he had the perfect casting for Superman. Henry Cavill was the perfect Superman. He is kind, sweet, and the biggest nerd you ever meet. He had so many problems on The Witcher, not because the only reason he was difficult to work with was on The Witcher. He was having problems with them not following the source material. He was a huge fan, and they didn't want him, or they want them fucking up the source material. If you're a fan of something, you don't want someone fucking up the thing you love. So, James Gunn is just messing up the DC universe just because, in my opinion, to be honest, this is just speculation for me, he's trying to make it cheaper to make these movies, so he doesn't have to pay these big name actors the pay that they're asking for. And don't get me wrong, I think James Gunn is a great movie director and writer. He did a good job on Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I watched that movie and I nearly cried in that movie. That was an amazing movie. He's an amazing filmmaker, but I just think that he makes stupid decisions. Like this was an honest to God stupid decision. But I just think that this whole James Gunn crap is just ridiculous, and like the whole thing is DC movies used to be like not that good. And Marvel and DC always will have a battle, but used to it was even more intense because 2000, like early 2000s and before that, DC was on top of the world. Marvel didn't really have any Marvel movies. Like they did have like Blade, Spider-Man, and that's about it. Daredevil, but even then, who fucking cares about the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie? But they had those movies, which pretty good hits, especially like Spider-Man and Blade. But those are about the only hits they had. But DC, they came in with like Superman, Batman, even like stuff like Supergirl, and their shows from like the 80s, like the 80s Flash, the Wonder Woman shows, and especially the animated stuff, they were on top of the world. But then, and especially because in the 90s and stuff, Marvel was dying out, especially in the comic scene, because they were going bankrupt. They had to sell a bunch of their Marvel properties, especially like Spider-Man. That's why Spider-Man is owned by Sony and not Disney, because they had to sell the movie rights to Sony because they were in such deep shit that if they didn't do that, they would have been bankrupt, and Marvel probably wouldn't have existed to this day. But then the Marvel movies happened. The first Iron Man movie, and then I think the Incredible Hulk, if I remember right. Then I think it was Thor, Hulk, and can't remember the exact order. Then the Avengers, and these movies were big. Still is big, but I mean, like, these were big, and they knocked DC out of the park. And then Marvel was back on top of being the king of comics. But not just comics, of just pop culture in general. Then DC was like, hey, we want a bit of that movie pie. So they're like, let's try and do it with Superman. So they made the Superman movie, Man of Steel. It was a pretty good movie, but it was not a smash hit like they wanted. And then they tried to do Batman vs. Superman. A little more of a smash hit, mostly because they introduced a new Batman, and it was the first time that Batman and Superman ever met in a feature-length film. But it still didn't do that good, mostly because the plot in the movie wasn't the best. Don't get me wrong, there was things in there that was actually pretty good. Like I said, Ben Affleck as Batman was actually really good casting. Wonder Woman, even stuff like showing that the Flash and Cyborg and Aquaman exist in this world was a cool thing to see. But it felt more rushed because the whole Marvel MCU was organically built. It was built over time and merged together. This was one single movie that there was two movies in the DC universe at this time. The first one was just Superman, and the other one already put the Justice League together. So it felt cluttered and like bunched up together, at least to me. And then they started to get more organic. They started getting their feeling back all together. They did the Suicide Squad. It was fine, but you could see the direction they were going in. And they were doing stuff like Shazam. I'm blacking out. Shazam, Black Adam, Flash, and they were doing all these movies that helped bring the universe together and actually made the universe feel like a universe. But then, once shit started going bad, they were like, hey, let's just get rid of it. Let's just reboot it. So that's kind of what happened with this whole James Gunn crap. Is they're just trying to reboot the whole thing to make it easier to make the movies so they don't have to pay the actors. That's my opinion, at least. That's how I feel. I mean, like, I don't know why else they would fire Henry Cavill. I mean, he was making them bank. So, I know I haven't been making that many videos. It's been a little rough. Hit a bit of a rough patch. I'm gonna try and make a couple more, but that's about it. So, yeah, thank you. Bye.